morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning, and hello, kids, and welcome to Season 4 and episode number 389 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show, here on the Crier Media Network. Yeah! Yeah! Haha! Today, recording day, is Friday. It's Friday. Oh, I'm so happy it's Friday. May 24th. So the actual May 24 weekend. Haha. 2024. The 2-4 on 2-4. Oh, I think if people celebrate that literally, a lot of people are going to be calling in hungover for work on Monday.
Yeah, most likely.
Do not take that literally. Do not listen. If you see like those Tide Pod challenges, hey, do the 2-4 weekend challenge. Do not do that challenge.
Oh, that's a bad idea.
Nothing good can come from taking that challenge.
No. I know that's what we used to call it, May 2-4, May 2-4. Not May long weekend, May 2-4, because, don't do that to yourself.
Go to the cottage and break out a 2-4 as you're opening up the cottage. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, eh? And with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. As you can tell by the sunlight coming through the window, as I've got an aurora borealis in front of my face and all the curtain markings on my face. It's a gorgeous day here at the Beaver Lodge because clearly there is sun. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. We have our usual Friday show, but we won't be going extra long because Mr. Grizzly has a hard out at 9, but we still got that leaves us plenty of time to be social, right? So, Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today?
I think it's a little better than it has been the last few days. Marginally.
A win's a win.
Yeah, well, it's not where it should be, but it is getting there, minute by minute, day by day. Take the wins when we can get them is what it boils down to. I'm just hoping to try and my workload right now is extreme, and my apartment is a mess. I've got so much work to try and get caught up on, and I'm trying to find some leisure time this weekend as well. And I'm like, I need a break is what it boils down to. A mental health break, an emotional health break, a physical break. I need to unplug and relax. And I don't know when I don't know when that's going to happen. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. But I mean, yeah, I understand that particularly right now, given the last 5.5 months I've been through. I'm just like, ooh, I'm really glad. I think yesterday was the first day that I was somewhat additionally productive that I have a list of things that I needed to get done and that I'm behind on.
Mhm.
And and I've been looking at the list, and not that it's not like, I know sometimes you have a lot to do and you look at it and it's overwhelming.
Oh,
This
yes.
wasn't that. This was, I'm still tired.
I can relate to that.
If you've been doing 120 kilometers for an hour for 5 months straight, and then it just stops,
Yeah.
which is what happened on May 20th. It just stopped. Yes. You're not like bouncing up. Okay, it's May 20th. Now I got all this energy to take on all the other stuff that's pilot. It's like for a moment. And I was talking to friends, and it's like, I have no meetings, no doctor's appointments, no rehearsals, no, like, not. I have the show, I have work, I have my sweetie. That's
That's
it.
it. That's good. That's actually a good thing.
And it's been a long time since I had just that. But I just pooped.
Of course.
Just completely pooped. Like, there's two emails that I wanted to send, and I thought like I'm going to do this like first thing next week. It's like, oh God, no, because, and it wasn't the email, writing the initial email. It's when I'm going to get a response. I'm going to have to respond. It's like, so if I don't initiate the process, there won't be more work coming in right now.
Yeah, so you better do something about it. You gotta get on there.
But it's like, once you take the step of initiating contact, then you should respond in a timely manner.
Yes.
Right? You can delay initiating contact, but once you start. So, but yesterday I got those things out, and it was like, oh, you know what? And it's like, and I don't feel more exhausted as a result. So I think I'm kind of coming over the hump. But yeah, there was one full week. Like, I mean, even playing tennis, I played like about 2 matches, but I play every day. And
Right.
like after like Tuesday, it was like Wednesday, gorgeous day. Yesterday, gorgeous day. It's like, no, I'm still tired. I'm just still tired.
If you have time to take some rest, do it, because I don't know when I'm going to have time to get some rest. I'm trying to get a couple hours in on Saturday, but I still have a ton of stuff I've got to get done. So, you know,
And you know what the worst part is what I was telling people. I have no meetings. No, what is? I did have a meeting Monday night. It's the third Monday of the month, which means it was the board meeting for the theater company, which I completely forgot. I just saw the thing come in. Somebody says, I thought you said you were going to be at the board meeting, and I was going to see you there. And it's like, oh yeah, that was.
yeah, that thing, that you know,
We closed on Saturday.
little
We had
chestnut.
family was over on Sunday. Sunday was my birthday, and then Monday was my first day off. And I'd been just so convinced by my head, Monday is my first day off. I didn't think of it at all.
Mm. Well, you know, something I was saying to a colleague yesterday, it's like, you know, hey, you know, short week, 4-day work week after a long weekend. Yeah, it's a short week. Here's the problem. You have 5 days worth of work and 4 days to do it in. So the week after a long weekend is not a short week. You have more work to do than normal.
Yeah.
And I find it always, by the time Friday rolls around, I'm done. Like finished.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's it's been something. But hey, I am on the recovery, and since we are speaking mental health, Mr. Grizzly.
Yeah.
Oh, you are not doing this to me now, are you, computer?
Of course it is. It's Friday morning. You want
Okay.
things to run
No.
smoothly. That's not gonna happen.
It was good. I was good. I had tried to bring something up, and then there was this. You know what? There's the normal white spinning wheel that means like you're stuck in an eternal loop reboot, right? And then there's the blue wheel of death, or the blue screen of death. Sorry, like this. And this one was like just this gray one that wasn't doing anything. Like, there wasn't even like a circular movement. It's like, what the hell? And it's like, and the screen was just white. like the outline of everything was there, but there was like no
Right.
text anywhere. It was just what it was like. What? So yeah, but Pete and I were working a little last night, and I think we might have settled on something that you will like, Mr. Grizzly. Mr. Grizzly has not seen this yet,
Okay.
but we've asked around. We've tested some of the logos for the mental health walk, and I think this might be it, Mr. Grizzly.
Yep. In. Done. That's it. That's the ticket right there.
Huh?
That's the ticket.
Yeah. So thank you for everyone who submitted comments. And do you notice something?
What?
A sort of like additional play on words?
Mental health walk. 5K.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. June 15th, 2024. What am I
With
missing?
the K and 5K, it sort of makes talk as well.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought I kind of figured that's what you meant, but I wasn't sure.
So yeah, we thought because Pete had suggested, tried to put the K, and I was at first it was like, no, let's just keep it clean, and then I thought, well, wait a minute, maybe we can. This is a way we can do it by putting the 5K.
Mhm.
So yeah, exactly, Kitlin.
It
subtly suggests men's talk because we kind of faded the gradient to make it look like it was a little in the background, so it was a little more subtle. But yeah, we tried several iterations and we got that. And Mr. Grizzly, then Pete got busy and did this for us so that we can use this in another way.
Oh, yeah.
That is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's see, what else did he have for us? That he gave it another variation right here. And for people who are listening at home, this is probably not going to be as interesting because we're showing visuals, but we will be back with more interesting stuff for you in a couple of minutes. Mr. Grizzly, this one was a variation, and he was able to put the logo on it.
Yeah,
so he designed it like it was a stamp. This has the Eager Beaver stamp of approval.
Yeah, I like it.
Pete is brilliant.
Yeah, I know he's really good.
People, if you need a graphic designer, please, I will put you in contact with Pete. He's fast. He's good. Yes. Getting it up on I see Kit Michael saying get it up on Etsy so we can try to have it before the day. That might be a little tricky given the lead up time that's required from Etsy.
Send it to me and I'll see what I can do.
But exactly, and maybe there's someone out in the Twitterverse or whatnot who might be able to do print on demand a little more quickly or something. But yeah, we'll figure it out because we've talked about it to Dean, and we have the network's buy-in. So actually, that one might actually be we might be able to do that through the Crier Media Network merch site.
Yeah, we'll see.
They might have faster delivery or something. I don't know, but we'll look into it.
Send it to me. I'll get it on the Etsy store, and we see what we can do with Dean. So you'll be in touch with Dean about that because I barely have time to breathe right now.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, so that's all the stuff there. So thank you so much, Pete, for that. He's done a couple of other things for us, that you'll see. But yeah, it's wow, this is kind of cool. Like we have
coming together.
We have stuff, yeah. And
we won't be able to register for charity status this year, but we'll have it done for next year because we don't have the time.
No, definitely not be able to register for charity status this year. But I've also written to the Canadian Mental Health Association to ask if they have a type of men's support program of any type or services for men specifically, and if they would like to be the beneficiary. And
Yeah,
if
it works.
that's, and then I asked Senator Brazo if he knows of any peer support programs offered through friendship centers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
So that money can be separated, divided up. And if we do find an organization that has this type of program, right now I'm looking at the idea of starting a GoFundMe page for it so that it's all someplace clear rather than coming through us. But if it does have to come through us, we do have a bank account now, so everything will be itemized and accounted for, and we'll be able to prove. So we don't know how we're going to set that up. And because we're doing this, we're also going to encourage kits and cubs. If on the 15th, because we're doing this in Ottawa and you can't be in Ottawa, in your home communities, if you want to call someone and go for a walk on that day, it doesn't have to be 5K, but just go for a walk with someone and, have a chat. And if you want to ask, people to support you in that endeavor and direct them to whatever GoFundMe page or something like that we set up. That might be the way to make it national and try to do a little good at the same time. We have no objectives with regards to how much money or whatnot, but every drop in tittle adds to the pot, as we say. So, we're just throwing it out there. If people want to support that, if people want to participate in their own way, that would be a way to do it. Get a group of friends and go for a walk. You don't have to close down streets. Just go for a walk
Go for a walk
and chat
and chat
like this.
That's the general idea, right?
And
Get people talking.
And men, we encourage you to find a guy friend to do that, but find any friend. Women, please, you are not excluded. Just want you to know, like, if you want to walk for the men in your lives, or if the men in your lives want to talk to you, that's okay. It doesn't have to be. It's just the concept of, guys don't have anybody to talk to so much, and
we're not good at opening up.
They don't feel like they could open up to their friends, so it's to try to normalize that as well. But yes, everybody, please, especially our sisters, because we need you. Because often you're the ones who get us to open up.
What was it I heard? An MMA fighter, a young British fellow, a friend of mine, posted it to a while back. And what he said after winning a fight was, he says, guys, we got to talk. He says, a friend of mine took his life last Friday because he didn't feel he could talk about it. He did not feel that he could open up and discuss it with us. And he says, you know what? I would much rather have you cry on my shoulder than me crying at your funeral.
Right.
So it's important that we discuss these things,
mm-hmm.
Because I would much rather have you cry on my shoulder than me cry at your funeral.
Well, exactly. And that's the interesting thing, because when you're, the Spoke for a Bloke event that Kit Pete talked about, the origin story, is it started when their brother and mate took their own life while going through some mental health issues. That was the, why didn't he talk to us? Well,
he didn't feel he could.
We're going to create a climate. Yeah.
And that's what we have to do.
Yeah. So, if you can participate in your own way, I don't know how I'll do it. I guess maybe set up. We have to try to find a way that everybody can let us know what it is that they are doing or how they are participating. So I don't know if that would be a Facebook page or Twitter feed or whatnot, or just ask people to send stuff to our email, TrueNorthEagerBeaver TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com if you're going to participate or whatnot. But let us know how it is so that we can sort of have a collective thing. Like I said, no expectations in terms of this, but we have the opportunity, and with the network, hopefully next week at some time, we'll be going on Dean's show and bringing it to the broader network so more people can see it. So hopefully, it'll be a short burst of publicity and it's last minute and whatnot, but let's see what a ragtag group of people can do if they put their minds to it. And, I have a feeling we would be doing it next year too. So we might have we'll have a little more.
I want this to be the first annual. Right.
So, but for this year, let's just see. Like I said, let's all be of good intention and let's see what happens.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Okay. That was, you know what? Right now, maybe could ask PMJT to participate and or Senator Brazo. Well, we have asked Senator Brazo, Kitvim, and he has agreed. He
Yes,
and his
he's
wife
in.
have agreed.
Yeah.
We don't know yet whether or not they want to be recognized as official honorary patrons or whether or not they just want to come and participate in the walk a little more low key. But they are participating. We've asked if they would be willing to speak and make a little video for us that we could put the logos on and put out to encourage people to participate. But they have agreed after we do the walk in Ottawa, we will be meeting at a pub and doing a pubcast. And they have agreed to come there to talk with us after the event about men's mental health. While we are doing that live broadcast, we will be, for us, everybody on the show, it will be a dry event for us, even though it's happening in a pub, out of respect for Senator Brazo and his campaign to enable the label as well, to put warning labels on alcohol, because studies have shown that more than 2 drinks per week start to create a situation where cancers can develop, certain cancers can develop. And then other, of course, health issues related to it and social and life issues related to alcohol. So for that portion, it will be dry. And then hopefully there will be music and bands and stuff. So it'll be a good day. It'll be a good day.
Well, I don't know if we'll have any live musicians. But...
I don't. Well, yeah, we don't know if there will be, but we assume that there might be something going on there or whatnot, because it is a music venue sometimes, right?
No.
That isn't the one that we were thinking about doing it.
No. You're thinking of Meow That's Hot. We can't do it there.
Oh, okay.
The mental health walk, it will take place at the Lieutenant's Pump. We had tried to tentatively schedule a live music event at Meow That's Hot for this month for the Songwriters Festival, Songwriter Spotlight. However, because it's actually taking place this evening, I was like, no, I can't do a Friday. It has to be a Saturday. I can do a Saturday. I cannot do a Friday. Right. It's too much work. I don't have the time. And I need Friday nights to myself. Fridays I reserve for myself after 5 p.m. Don't speak to me unless you're across the table at the pub having a pint with me. It's like Friday is sacred to me. It's my night of doing whatever the hell I want. Maybe I join a podcast later, but that's my choice. I'm not scheduled to do anything but what I want on Friday evenings. And working Friday evenings? No. I have to put my foot down on that one. I really do, because Friday's a long day for me as it is, and I don't want to work Friday evenings. That's it. I did that for 20 plus years as a DJ.
Yep.
My Friday night now ends usually around 9:30, maybe 10 o'clock, and I'm fine with that.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. All right, kids and cubs. Let's talk some news. Miss, do you want to continue? I'm going to ask, do you want to continue in a positive vibe for now, because we do have to touch on other stuff, or do you just want to dive into the meat? Mr. Grizzly?
I don't know, man. I'm too tired to think. I'm too tired to think.
Kids and cabs.
Editing,
over to you.
Editing mode in the background at the same time, trying to get caught up on things because I just have not had the time. So yeah, what can I talk about? Well,
All right. No. I'm not asking you to take over. I just wanted you to know if you wanted to keep in the positive vibe or start with the meaty stuff and then end with some more happy
Let's
stuff.
get into the meat, and then we'll end with happy. And yeah, we'll go that way. Let's go that method.
Okay. All right. There's a little bit of a wildfire update on the Alberta wildfire. On Thursday, the province said that there had been a significant decline in bonfires since last week, and that those that continue to burn are under control or being held. Yay! 29,000 hectares have burned so far this year, which is a big difference from this time last year when 520,000 hectares had already burned. So the wildfire season did start earlier this year, but so far has not been as intense. Weather has cooperated more this year than last year. Forestry and Parks Minister Todd Loewen was asked if any of this year's fires were started in malice, which is interesting because normally we wouldn't have to be asking that question. But since last year, a whole bunch of people decided to make a point of saying climate arson is not climate change.
No, it's not. But here's the
Now-
thing. When everything is dry as a tinderbox because of climate change, the arson will only make it worse.
And not everything that's fire is arson. So, so now we have to ask these stupid questions that should go without saying, but now we have to ask. So, Minister Loewen said, we know that there can always be that opportunity that people will start fires intentionally, but by and large, the majority of wildfires that have been identified so far have been either human-caused and either by accident or negligence. Loewen says 77% of forest fires this year have been human-caused. He says over the May long weekend, the Alberta government personnel found 25 unattended campfires that could have resulted in catastrophic wildfire.
Wow.
It's people being stupid.
Really? People?
Not
People are
people being
stupid?
malicious or careless.
Oh, I wish people weren't so stupid, unfortunately.
But it's like after the summer that you just had, why would you leave a wildfire? Why would you leave a campfire unattended? Why?
Laziness. You know what it is?
Why would you not? How could you possibly not think of that?
Hang on a second. Reminds me of the Charlie Major song. It can't happen to me. I got an angel watching over me. Remember Charlie Major?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's the first bit. The second bit is remember when we reported that story about the rising cost of insurance, and they were talking about the wildfires. But in that story, it said even though wildfires, the cost with wildfires are going up, the real thing is hurricanes and rain, floods. Well, this is being confirmed in another way. Because according, the CBC, this is in reporting from the CBC. But in the United States, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Agency, it's often referred to as NOAA, NOAA, released its hurricane forecast. And it seems that it's the highest one NOAA has ever issued. The May outlook says that hurricane season will officially begin next week and could see 17 to 25 named storms, with 4 to 7 of them major hurricanes. Record-breaking ocean warmth is driving up projections. Sea surface temperatures in some parts of the tropical Atlantic are as warm now as they typically are in August. And already this year, sea surface temperature measurements basically show that this is the hottest the water has ever
That's
been.
not good.
Ever.
That is really not good.
Ever.
That affects the entire planet in ways that we don't even fully comprehend.
Yep. So Rick Spinrad, who's the administrator for NOAA, says, I gotta say, the level of heat that's contained in the ocean right now is pretty much unprecedented. Really unprecedented, never before, highest ever. We can expect some of these storms to become major hurricanes. Meteorologist Rob Robichaud of Environment Canada says Canada gets normally about 35% of the hurricane activity coming up the coast from the south, like Hurricane Lee, which did a number on parts of Nova Scotia and New Brunswick last September, and it took out power, it took out internet access, took out cell communications, I believe, for a bit, or at least affected them due to things having to be rerouted. Um, they can't predict right now where the storms will go, or whether they will even make landfall at all. But climate scientists have long linked climate change to more severe storms, says Nathan Gillett with Environment Canada. Quote, the rainfall associated with, and it's also projected to be more intense, sea level rise will exacerbate the impacts associated with storm surges. In fact, water, not wind, is the most deadly. 90% of deaths come from storm surges or people driving or wading into flooded areas. The big ones are fast. Hurricanes also are getting stronger and faster, like Hurricane Otis last October, which hit Acapulco. It went from a tropical storm to Category 5 in a matter of hours. And that's a phenomenon that's being referred to as intensification. Ken Graham, the director of the U.S. National Weather Service, says, you look at a season like this where you know you can see some pretty strong storms with this forecast. The last 100 years, every single one of these big storms were tropical storms for the last 3 days prior to moving into a hurricane, evolving into a hurricane. So that's a pretty big forecast. Kit Saucy here in the chat goes, Hurricane Lee almost took me out to sea because I got too close to the water and the storm surge came up. Me and 2 other people got hit with rocks and driftwood. One guy was taken off his feet. Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Kit Vim says no icebergs left. Yeah, I saw the story too in Newfoundland. There are tourists that have shown up for iceberg season, and there aren't any, or very, very, very few. I had the good fortune to go on the Year of Canada 150, and I saw one with my own eyes. We got to, it's not a dinghy, but sort of
it's a dory.
A dory, there you go. Go up there, and we got as close to it as you can safely, because if it tips, right, you can do that at any time, and you don't want to be anywhere in the vicinity. It is utterly awe-inspiring.
Oh yes,
it's literally, you're out there, especially if you're on a calm day. The water's calm. There is no sound unless a bird is making a sound or unless something is splashing. And you're like literally standing in front of something just majestic and huge. And there's nothing but water and sky.
Yeah, I've done it many times.
It is awesome. It is awesome. Like it's one of only 3 times in my entire life that just pure nature moved me so much that I cried to tears.
That's never happened.
Something else. Oh,
and I've experienced a lot, of this natural world, traveling it and living across the country and visiting every square inch of it. Except I've not been up north yet, which is something I do wish to do in the near future. But it's a little expensive. I can fly to South Africa for 2 weeks for less money than I can to travel in my own country. So
Yeah, indeed. There's also been, when we're talking about stuff, we hear about Grassy Narrows First Nation. Comes into the news and then goes away for a while and then comes into the news. It's in the news again because even though it's an area that is surrounded by pristine Northern Ontario forests, it's a community of 1,600 people that has been very, almost all the community, about 90% of it, is being affected by water that contains dangerous neurotoxins.
Yeah, because the mercury that was released?
Yeah. So pretty much every single resident has mercury poison. The situation was supposed to be improving, but new findings are suggesting that the opposite is happening. Reporting by Philip Lishanuk from CBC. I got this information from here. The chief of Grassy Narrows, Rudy Turtle, says that he's been having symptoms like trembling and stuff, tremors, memory loss, cognitive and motor dysfunction. And every day it seems to be getting worse. And that's because from 1962 to 1975, more than 9,000 kilograms of mercury were dumped into the English Wabigoon River system by a paper mill in the area. Ever since then, well, the people have been poisoned, and they've been fighting for someone to take responsibility for it. Now, there's a new report that suggests that the environmental disaster is being made worse by ongoing mill operations. Western University biology professor Brian I cannot pronounce that name, Branferon, I believe, says that mercury in the river has been combining with sulfates, I guess from technological changes about how we're processing, but that's included in now more recent industrial waste. But when you put those sulfates in water in which mercury has been dumped, well, you get a chemical reaction, and it creates something called methyl mercury. According to Professor Graham George, who teaches at the University of Saskatchewan, who's an expert in toxic heavy elements, he says methyl mercury just happens to be the most toxic form of mercury because it can accumulate more easy in living organisms like fish in the river and then the people who eat it. He says, so we can connect the dots, right? We can draw the line directly between effluents stimulating methylation, increasing the amount of mercury in the environment, and increasing methyl mercury in fish. That latter quote is the Brian Bronfrein, the Western University biology professor. Graham George says, quote, it particularly, and it's dangerous specifically, especially because if you are a pregnant woman and you're consuming this toxic form of mercury, it really, really, really targets the fetus.
It's pretty insidious is the word I would use.
Michael Rennie, who teaches at the Lakehead University's biology department, says if the industrial sulfate waste were to be eliminated, the levels of methylmercury would decline drastically. Quote, he says that should reduce the levels by about half just based on that action alone. The community in Grassy Narrows would like the mill closed. Rennie says that there could be other options, like industrial processes that could be put in place to help reduce sulfate concentrations. The mill had been taken over by Dryden Fiber from Domtar last year. So far they're not commenting on the study. The provincial government says that it's reviewing the report and it will meet with researchers in the community next week. And the federal government says that it's committed $146 million to build a mercury treatment center in Grassy Narrows right there. And that construction is scheduled to begin on Canada Day for that. So yeah, Kit Argos-Yager is likely a fixed sperm too.
Oh yes,
possibly could. I don't have the scientific knowledge, but yeah, possibly. I mean, maybe you do know for a fact. I don't. But I can see how that would be, how that could happen. Oh boy. Yeah. So on the positive side, though, the mercury treatment center is going to be built. So there you go. Oh, Mr. Grizzly. Just in case you missed it, there was a beautiful comment from Johnny Cohn. Sorry, I went a little squirrel here, but it just caught my eye. Gotta head out for work. Have a great day, friends. Mr. Grizzly, I hope you're back to feeling like your regular self soon. Never forget you're a boss, fellow. Mr. Beaver, continue shining your light.
Thank you very much.
We have the best kits. We have the best kits. We really do. So yeah, there we go. So wildfires, hurricanes, and mercury poisoning. Like I said, not a light start. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Yesterday, Immigration Minister Mark Miller held a mid-morning media availability on a new citizenship bill. And on the notice paper, he said he intended to table it in the House of Commons that morning. And what was interesting in this case is that for this press conference, new Democrat immigration critic Jenny Kwan and advocate and parent Catherine Burton were with him. But it's kind of rare for the government to table a bill and have a member of another party there with them in order to do that. Now, the reason she was there is because this is actually a good bill. It's a really, really good bill. According to CBC News again, a new citizenship bill aims to settle longstanding grievance of people who call themselves lost Canadians. Now, what happened is that when in Canada, when somebody was a Canadian citizen but had been born abroad, and they had a child who was born abroad, that child was not considered a Canadian citizen.
What? Huh? Oh, yeah, I understand the concept.
Those were the rules, right? So they were called lost Canadians. And this has been a long-standing thing. These people have been, like, for decades trying to get this solved, right? So the current law states that there's only one passage of the Canadian citizenship, only one passage of Canadian citizenship. So somebody has to have been born here, right? In order to offer it. So Mark Miller introduced a bill packed with amendments to the citizen, and what it will do is it will restore citizenship to those we call lost Canadians, and those are people that were either never able to become a citizen or people that had lost citizenship because of previous outdated legislative provisions. Miller said the changes would extend citizenship to children born abroad of Canadian parents who were also born abroad, and in the need for those women to return to this country to give birth to ensure that their child would be Canadian. This would end what's called generational citizenship limits. And that would mean also that adopted children who were born outside Canada can also become citizens if they are adopted parents with Canadian citizenship or born abroad as well. So if you were born abroad and you were adopted and earned your Canadian citizenship that way, and you have a child and you adopt a child abroad, that child would also get Canadian citizenship now. Right. So they made sure that when they said that they went in and they fixed the whole law, they really tried to game out every situation. Like, but what if you were adopted and immigrated to Canada and you go out and adopt someone? It's like, we thought of that too. So we pay people to think about these things. When you're asking where does your tax dollars go, here. Somebody thought of that. So yeah, it's been. So parents would have to prove that they spent at least 3 years in this country. Mark Miller says citizenship is very much a privilege that needs to be earned in a lot of circumstances, but certainly not in these cases where it was just patently unfair to begin with. Now, the reason we have this situation is as a result of a law passed in 2009. And who was in government in 2009?
Oh, that would have been Stephen Harper.
And that would be the government in which the current leader of the opposition was a part. So I'm going to guess he voted for this. It's going to go out. I do not know for a fact because I did not go and check it out in open parliament, but I'm going to go out on a limb
that's probably pretty accurate.
He voted for this. Yes. So, yeah. NDP, and basically this law was declared unconstitutional by the courts in 2009. So yet another example of a law that Stephen Harper passed that was overturned by the court, because let's not forget that, again, if his government was not the most overturned by the courts ever in Canadian history, he was second or third. But I have a feeling that hands down, this is the government that tried to get away with the most legislative shit in terms of passing things on us that were unconstitutional. So yeah, the courts declared it unconstitutional in 2009. The The immigration critic for the NDP, Jenny Kwan, urged the Conservatives to back the government's plan to eliminate what she calls second-class citizens. Quote, and I would ask them to not obstruct progress of this bill. Pass this bill so it can become law and right the historic wrong. Now, when asked about it, the CPC's immigration critic, Tom Kimmich, said the party is still reviewing the bill. Okay, it is the first day. We'll allow it.
We'll allow it.
We'll
allow it.
We'll allow it. We'll allow we're still reviewing the bill. It's better than running to the barricades and say, hey, this is another way to import some illegals because just before the election so we can win. Right? That's the that was the reflexive response I was expecting. So I didn't get that. So I'll take the win. I'll allow we want to read it. The Queen says make it so. But the new law, it seems that the community, the Lost Canadian community, is very, very, very happy. Don Chapman is the head of the Immigration Credit Union Advocates, and he says this bill is absolutely huge. It's monumentous. It's not known how many people would gain citizenship with this new legislation, but an estimated 4 million Canadians reside outside Canada right now, with so many living and possibly falling in love abroad. Right? That creates the opportunity for a lot of Canadians to be born abroad. We travel more, we live more, we're assigned to other places for 3-4 years. Right? This is the world now. Right? So some good news. There you go. People who have been fighting for decades to be recognized as full Canadian citizens are finally going to get it. Because there's no reason to oppose this. So hopefully the Conservatives will decide to not try to find a way to torque this as yet more proof that Justin Trudeau is the most evil person that's ever existed in history, and therefore he must be defeated. This is a good bill. This is the reason for which we ask people to do this job, to find stuff that's not right and make it right. Make it better. So, hats off. Hats off for doing some good work here. Do you have anything, Mr. Bisley?
And I'm going to put a link to it in the chat here. No, that's not the right one. Damn it. Just a second. I made a mistake. I made a boo-boo.
Okay. Do you want me to take?
Oh no, I did have the right one. Damn it! Just a second. Give me a second here.
I love that when that happens to me. It's like I'm doing it right, and I think I'm doing it wrong, so I correct it, and then I'm doing it wrong, and then I have to darn.
Oh, this computer is just not behaving right now.
Kit Pete has joined us. Hey, Kit Pete. I showed everybody your work. The people seem to really, really like it, so thanks, my friend. Okay, just random comment. Mateo likes salami. Loves salami. Every now and then my eye goes to the right and I see the weirdest. I walk into conversations at the weirdest time. All right. While you're doing that, Mr. Grizzly.
Well, I'm just trying to paste a link here in the chat, but it kind of got weird on me for some reason. So I'm going to try it again, and then we'll discuss the contents of the article that there. It's pasted. Good. It looks like it worked properly, and I'm going to I'm going to share a screen here. Oh, did I?
You read my mind.
Good. Okay.
Yes, that's where I was going.
Great minds do sometimes think alike. In this case, it looks like we were. Let me just blow this up a little bit so it's easier to read when I post it on the screen. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read some of it to you. Now, this article in the Toronto Star on federal politics In quotation,
Yes.
one of the biggest mistakes of his political career. New book details what happened when Pierre Poilievre crossed Stephen Harper.
Okay. And may I say, before I'm going to interject here, I consider this, because I've raised it often on the show, to be the absolute most genuine moment he has had in politics. To me, this is the real
It is. It absolutely
him.
is. There's no question. Stephen Harper feared a revolt in his caucus when he decided to go ahead with compensation for residential school survivors, the new book reveals. Now, the Pierre Poilievre, A Political Life by Andrew Lawton. Okay, so this is just a whole bunch of... But this is interesting that this is in the Toronto Star. So it's
assuming that Andrew Lawton's
well, I think he is, actually, because when we go through this article, I will read a few paragraphs. Yeah. Stephen Harper feared a revolt in his Conservative caucus when, as Prime Minister, he decided to go ahead with compensation for residential school survivors, a newly published book reveals. That's part of the reason why Pierre Poilievre got in such hot water in 2008 when he made disparaging remarks about Indigenous people and questioned the point of the payments, writes Andrew Lawton. I'm not calling that guy a journalist. Sorry. No, writes Andrew Lawton in his new book, Pierre Poilievre, A Political Life. Poilievre's comments in a radio interview came just hours before Harper rose in the House of Commons to deliver a landmark apology to Indigenous people for the creation of the residential school program. Just 4 years into his career as an MP, no, it's as a MP. And goes before a vowel. M is not a vowel, it's a consonant. Well, correct me if I'm just being a grammar cop here. People say as an MP,
I think
but it technically is as a MP, a member of parliament, not an member of parliament.
I think this...
I'm being pedantic, but that's how my brain works, right? So just 4 years into his career as a MP at the time, Poilievre's remarks cast an immediate pall over the historic moment. Andrew calls for his resignation. Poilievre was dressed down internally, but members of Harper's innermost circle at the time told Lawton that Harper's fury was also proactive. The apology was a big, big moment, Ian Brodie, who served as Harper's chief of staff, told Lawton. Harper had already told caucus, look, there's going to be pieces of stuff that not everybody's happy with, but I've decided we need to do this in order to get on to other things. We've got to draw this issue to a close. Lawton goes on to quote Brodie, suggesting Poilievre was aligned with a good chunk of the Western Caucus whose members weren't happy with the payment package. I think everybody understood that there was unhappiness in caucus and, God knows, unhappiness in the PMO about setting a precedent for something like the common experience payment, a lump sum payment that recognizes the experience of living at a residential school and its impacts. But it was the threat that the whole deal was going to come apart if it looked like we had caucus revolt on this. Lawton writes that some inside Harper's caucus were uncomfortable with the payments, which had been agreed to by the previous Liberal government, because they believed some people actually enjoyed and benefited from the residential school program. Yes, and those people were not Indigenous. The payments were part of the Indian Residential School Settlement Agreement, which flowed from a class action lawsuit filed against the government by residential school survivors. In addition to the apology, the agreement mandated the establishment of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. It would go on to hear thousands of hours of testimony from more than 6,000 women and men who were physically, sexually, and mentally abused at the schools over the 100 years of their existence. Upwards of 3,500 children died at the schools, a toll that is still being tabulated. To this day, Poilievre's 2008 remarks continue to bubble up in conversations about how the Conservative leader might guide the country's relationship with Indigenous people if he becomes Canada's next Prime Minister. In the 2008 interview, he referred to the money Indigenous communities make from resource development on their lands and the money federal government was already giving them at the time, and wondered aloud where it was all going. I quote, "That is an incredible amount of money. Now, along with this apology, comes another $4 billion in compensation for those who partook in the residential schools over those years. Now, you know, some of us are starting to ask, are we really getting value for all this money? And is more money really going to solve the problem?"
Okay, yes. Mr. Grizzly, I will stop you there for 1 second because there actually is
you have the full quote. Yes,
that's only part of it. Yeah. So keep that window there, but I've got another one for you, and I'll put it up there for the kids to read if you want to switch them.
That gets to the heart of the
Please, Mr.
problem
Beaver.
on these reserves, where there is too much power concentrated in the hands of the leadership, and it makes you wonder where all this money is going. We spend $10 billion in annual spending this year alone. Now, that is an exceptional amount of money, and that is on top of all of the resource revenue that goes to reserves that sit on petroleum products or sit on uranium mines or other things where companies have to pay them royalties. And that's on top of all that money that they earn on their own reserves. That is an incredible amount of money. Now, along with this apology comes another $4 billion in compensation for those who partook in the residential schools over those years. Now, some of us are starting to ask, are we really getting value for all this money? And is more money really going to solve the problem? My view is that we need to engender the values of hard work and independence and self-reliance. That's the solution in the long run. More money will not solve it.
So I will point out here, I guess, now along with this apology comes another $4 billion in compensation for those who partook.
Yeah, like they had a choice.
In the residential schools over those years. Like this. Yes. Compensation
Suffering.
For legal tort, pain, and suffering. Are we really getting value for all of this money? If you mistreat people for generations and then get taken to court generations later and then have a judgment ruled against you and they say you have to pay, what value for money are you expecting to get for that other than learn to never do that to another fucking human again?
This is the way his mind works. Well, we're paying a lot of money. What do we see? Where's our return on this? There is no return on paying compensation to victims that were abused at the hands of the government. There's no value in that. And the amount of money that they get will never give them back what was taken from them.
And then all that comes in the context of him complaining of spending $10 billion a year because they have legal obligations as undergone by treaty and determined by court decisions and jurisprudence, and it's considering the century and plus of abuse and not living up to the deal and the debt that is accumulated by just not doing it right the first time and all the additional compounded interest suffering that all that is committed like this. He's complaining that $10 billion is not even like half of what you need to start cleaning up the mess you made already. So that $10 billion is obligations you've taken on, an additional cost for mess that you've made. And then you talk all the resource revenue that they get, and you're talking about them. See, here's the thing. If a conservative leader said this about Alberta and not Saskatchewan. Now, that's an exceptional amount of money, and that's on top of all the resource revenue that goes to reserves that sit on petroleum products or sit on uranium mines or other things where companies have to pay them royalties. So they're not working for that. They just happen to sit on that, and they get that money. Now, take a conservative and saying like this, we give you $6 billion in health transfers, and then we gave you X number of dollars for CERB, and we give you this much for education, and that's an exceptional amount of money, and then you get all these royalties from these oil companies because you just happen to have been fortunate enough to have been born on a place where dinosaurs existed way before you did, and you didn't do anything, but hey, you get that, and now you want another?
Yeah.
So it's okay to talk about that about Indigenous people, but it's not okay to talk about it, because if you talk about it like that about Alberta,
yeah, I know.
You get 86 pretty damn quickly. So he's adding the money that we have to pay because we took on treaty obligations and we created a mess by not respecting them. He's adding the money that they get from royalties, and it's not a ton of them because they keep on getting screwed on royalty deals left, right, and center. Yes, but he says they didn't do anything to earn that. They just happened to live on top of that. So they're basically stealing that from someone because that's money that should be rightfully going to someone else, right? Right? Yes. And then when they take us to court for all the bad things that we done, and they win, as they should, because we did do the bad things, then he wants value for money for that. And then he ends all of that by saying, gee, we have to instill in them a harder work ethic, which I think is not what you were trying to do when you had them in residential schools in the first place. And how the hell did that work out for you?
Generational trauma.
The work ethic is not the issue.
Yeah, he's just...
It's like, you can't fuck people up for 3 decades and then expect them to be you.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
This quote from Mr. Jim. We stole that land fair and square. That money should be ours.
This is the guy. And here's the thing. And I want you to continue that. But Stephen Harper pulled a lot of political capital in that day, in that thing, because the caucus wasn't fully with him. Hours before he delivers that in the House of Commons, he goes off to CFRA and freelances and drops this. He worked against his own government, his own leader. Even back then,
he wants to be king.
He would screw over his own team. Even back then, he would
4 years into his political career.
He's got 16 more years experience at it now. Don't vote for assholes.
He doesn't give a shit. He will say and do whatever he has to gain power. He does not want to govern. All he wants to do is rule, put money in his pocket and help out a few of the people that got him to that position. He doesn't give a shit about a single person but himself. And even then, I question if he has a lot of self-loathing, because he's a very angry man.
And we see hints of certain self-destructive behaviors.
I think he needs more therapy than I do, and I genuinely mean that. And I'm saying this as trying to be a compassionate human being right now. The man needs therapy. He does.
And here's another thing, because we know that Stephen Harper was a control freak, right? And like he would punish. Like we saw what he did to Helen Georges and Raheem Jaffer, right? Pretty much destroyed their reputations. Pierre Poilievre became a member of parliament in 2004. This is 4 years later, 2008. It wasn't until 2013 that he got his first cabinet position. Stephen Harper had him in the doghouse for 5 years after that.
Yeah, it's telling.
And then Stephen Harper gave him democratic reform.
He did such a good job with that.
He sunk his government. This is the guy that wants you to believe he's inevitable and that he's going to give you your freedom back. This guy.
From Jillian.
Please continue, Mr. Grizzly. Sorry, that was the biggest.
From Jillian. Jason Kenney's early bad acts came back to bite him. Let's hope this sticks to PP. Well, I think as election time approaches, all of the bad things that Pierre Poilievre has done, and we don't even have to go that far back, maybe like a day. I mean, he lied in the House of Commons 100 times just the other day. 100 times he lied.
Him or
a combination of the two.
Okay.
I'd have to check the thing. JB's got the lie counter for it. Sometimes the lies I'm a little, but they are technically correct. He did lie. So let's get back to the story and his entire remarks about, to my view, is that we need to engender the values of hard work and independence and self-reliance. That solution in the long run, more money will not solve it. Criticism of his remarks was as swift as it was fierce. Indigenous leaders were appalled, saying his remarks were insensitive, perpetuated stereotypes about Indigenous people, and completely discounted the impact of the trauma inflicted by the residential school system. Poilievre tried to clarify his comments in a statement before ultimately rising in the House of Commons to apologize for them. In quotation, yesterday, on a day when the House and all Canadians were celebrating a new beginning, I made remarks that were hurtful and wrong, he said at the time. I accept responsibility for them, and I apologize. Yeah, he did not make
But
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
actions
He's like,
sense.
so I apologize. No. In his book, Lawton calls Poilievre's 2008 interview one of the biggest mistakes of his political career and reports that afterwards, although he didn't lose his position as a parliamentary secretary, he was kept out of question period and the limelight so as not to attract further attention. Lawton also quotes a former unnamed aide to Poilievre as saying that despite Harper's concern of a caucus revolt, Poilievre wasn't trying to stir up trouble. I'm sure he had thought about what he was going to say. I don't think it was an off-the-cuff comment, but I do not believe that he appreciated how controversial it would be. That was a learning moment. Did he learn anything from it? I don't think so.
If we're wondering, if we have any doubt whatsoever whether or not Pierre learned not to run his mouth too quickly, wouldn't it be the cargo boom in Buffalo event
You think?
that he said was a terrorist thing that our prime minister
We didn't even know what
protect
the
us
hell
from?
was going on at the time. It turned out to be just a tragic
Wh- wh-
accident, nothing more, but he immediately went to terrorist.
Wouldn't that be the proof, irrefutable proof, that he has learned
Nothing. Well, see, here's the thing. Because he's a narcissist, a total narcissist. He's so convinced that everything he says is right, and no matter what you tell him, you're wrong. Well, I know it was an accident, but it was a terrorist attempt. Like, he will make an excuse for anything because he will not allow himself to make a mistake or be wrong, because he doesn't make mistakes as far as he's concerned. He's a total narcissist and a power freak. I'm telling you, this is not a good human being. This is not a good man. And if we elect a conservative parliament and he assumes the position of prime minister, I shudder to think what will happen, because you can damn well guarantee that little prick will use the notwithstanding clause on every single thing he can to make the laws constitutional. My laws will be constitutional because I'll make them constitutional. I'm telling you, this is a dangerous person. He's a danger to humanity. He's a danger to democracy. He's a danger to Canadians. He's a danger to our very way of life. And ladies, going to have to go back to being barefoot and pregnant if he assumes power, because that's what he wants. That's what a vast majority of his caucus wants. Tell me I'm wrong. You can't. You can't tell me I'm wrong. They want Gilead. They want a Christo-fascist state.
Yep. Oh boy. All right. Others. Let's see where we are. 19. Okay. Let's see what else have I got here. I'm just going to go through. Oh yes. Stateside. Former Republican presidential hopeful Nikki Haley says that she will vote for former President Donald Trump.
I thought she was dead set against that.
Well, you would think, right? I mean, and the reason you say that, I'm glad you said that I thought she was dead set against it, because I have a video for you that I would like you to put. Normally I quote him, but this time I'm going to show him. It's a Beau of the Fifth Column. And he kind of points out instances that would make you believe that she was against that. But apparently she came out the other day and in a speech to the Hudson Institute, which is a conservative think tank in Washington, D.C., in a speech that focused largely on foreign policy, she was asked who she thinks would do a better job in the White House. And, quote, "I put my priorities on a president who's going to have the backs of our allies and hold our enemies to account. Trump has not been perfect on these policies. I've made that clear many, many times. But Biden has been a catastrophe. So I will be voting for Trump.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Mr.
At what?
Grizzly.
What's the starting point for this? Just start.
Just start it.
Just give me a second here.
Yep.
I wasn't sure.
Bo will do this way better than
All
I
right,
can.
we'll just
So
hand this. Oh no, can't do that.
I'll just hand it to Bo.
Well, you can't do that. I need that there. It has to be like that. I'm sorry. Sorry, I got all kinds of stuff going on here.
Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So today we are going to talk about the curious case of two Haleys. Because she made an announcement, and we're going to go over some of her reasoning for that announcement. And then we're going to go over some other things that might better inform anybody who is weighing her announcement. And along the way, we will end up talking about Trump. Because if you missed the news, Nikki Haley has indicated she plans on voting for Trump. Part of her reasoning for that is, quote, "As a voter, I put my priorities on a president who's going to have the backs of our allies and hold our enemies to account." And she goes on, and she also says that she wants, quote, "a president who would support capitalism and freedom, a president who understands we need less debt, not more debt." So I'm going to flip through some other quotes real quick. You'll never guess who they're from. These are some other things that Haley has said. President Trump has surrounded himself with the political elite, but they are the same political elite that have spent like drunken sailors. They've raided Social Security and continue to waste taxpayer dollars. Everybody talks about the economy when Trump was president. He put us $8 trillion in debt in just 4 years. Another quote, "If you mock the service of a combat veteran, you don't deserve a driver's license, let alone being President of the United States." Another, "We can't have someone who sits there and mocks our men and women who are trying to protect America." I mean, it certainly seems that she believes, at least at this point, that, I mean, I don't know how she could think he would have the backs of our allies. She certainly appears to believe that he doesn't even have the backs of our troops. And here's another. When it comes to, facing down our enemies and all that stuff, he was completely wrong, because every time he was in the room with him, meaning Putin, he got weak in the knees. We can't have a president that gets weak in the knees with Putin. We have to have a president that's going to be strong with Putin in every sense of the word. And as far as, freedom and all of that stuff, he sided with a thug that arrests American journalists and holds them hostage. And he sided with a guy who wanted to make a point to the Russian people. Don't challenge me in the next election, or this will happen to you too. It is unconscionable to me that a candidate would spend $50 million in legal fees. It explains why he's not doing many rallies. He doesn't have the money to do it. It explains why he doesn't want to get on a debate stage, because he doesn't want to talk about why he's doing it. And then the one that I think is probably one that might resonate with people the most. I don't know if he waited too long, but I'll tell you, Donald Trump is everything we hear and teach our kids not to do in kindergarten. And then back to the whole, our enemies thing. That means Donald Trump is going to side with a thug where 500,000 people have died or been wounded because of Russia invading Ukraine. That means Donald Trump is going to side with a madman. That's quite the shift. That is quite the shift. People's positions evolve over time. It happens. But this is quite the evolution. Shortly after the moment when it would have made sense to make this announcement, because she had that retreat with her donors, would have made sense to do it then. Doing it now, I mean, that's a little weird, I'm going to be honest. Now, it is unique because she didn't really seem to totally endorse him. I feel like those people, the 1 out of 5 Republicans that have been voting for her, I feel like you were voting for her for not her reasoning for voting for Trump, but for all of those other quotes. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.
Well,
That's quite a
You think?
shift.
Thanks, Pete.
Similar to when Pierre Poilievre rushed to CFRA to say that Indigenous people just needed a hard work or better work ethic, and then the next day realized how wrong it was.
Mm. Yeah, you
Quite a
could say
shift.
that.
They're just sitting on land collecting royalties for doing nothing. I want value for money for this legal settlement. Oh, I was so wrong. I'm so sorry. No, I'll do. I don't know if you feel that way about somebody, about a group of people, so much so that you would rush to the radio station to preempt the leader of your own party's historic apology. Because what are the odds that the next day you actually are sorry
Yeah, no kidding.
and that your whole view about that people has changed?
Yeah.
I may have been born yesterday, but I wasn't born in the
Well, I
dead
was
of
born
night.
at night, but it wasn't last night.
All right. Yeah. I just it's like, and it's the same thing with Nikki Haley. All those things she said about him. She had withdrawn from the race 2 weeks before, I think. I can't remember which state it was, like essentially, or Nebraska or something like that, or Nevada, and she got 22%. There's 1 out of 5 Republicans who so don't want Donald Trump to be the nominee that they're still voting Nikki Haley after she suspended her campaign. And then she goes to the mic and says, just great. Now, after all these things that I told you, he'll be weak in the knees for Putin and whatnot like this. Biden would be a way bigger catastrophe, so I would vote for someone who I said gets weak in the knees for Putin.
Yeah, I know.
That to me, again, it's I'd be running a news station. It's okay, we're not having her back.
Ever again.
Clearly when she comes on our station, she doesn't tell me what she really believes, because I find it really, really hard to believe that you could say that about a person for about a year and then just come out and yeah, but he's got my vote now. That's still better than the guy who gets weak in the knees for Putin is still better on foreign policy than guy who clearly doesn't get on his knees, get weak in the knees for Putin. How is guy who gets weak in the knees for Putin less of a catastrophe than the guy who is like putting tons of political capital into like sending weapons and training and whatnot into Ukraine to defeat Putin? Like that's, like I said, whiplash. A case of political whiplash.
Just a little bit.
But this is why people can't stand politicians. What is her true conviction? That Biden is a catastrophe, or that Trump is? Which is it? Because it
has to be one
both.
or the other. And here's the thing: whatever you're,
they're not compatible. She should be saying like this: well, if Biden's a catastrophe and Trump gets weak in the knees for Putin, I'm running as an independent third candidate. I got 22% of the Republican vote. Not, I would vote for Trump and fall in line.
Somebody's got something on her. Compromise, perhaps. I mean, that's all. What else? Why else would she do that? Certainly seems like that's the case to me, anyway.
Still say you won't be voting, or that you'll be you'll put in a write-in candidate. I'll be voting for Trump. Like, just girl. Where has people's self-respect gone to? Seriously. I don't.
This is interesting.
Then we don't trust people.
I just came across an interesting clip.
All right.
I'm going to air it, and then you draw your own conclusion. I've never seen this before. This is from December 9th of last year. Just watch and tell me your interpretation of what is taking place here. Just make sure the volume is all the way up. Okay. This is Doug Ford at a charity fundraiser.
Okay, we're here at a beautiful gala. We're raising money for sick kids. One of the best hospitals anywhere in the world. We want to thank the doctors and nurses for the great work they do every single day, making sure our kids get well. Okay, we're here at a beautiful gala. We're raising money for sick kids. One of the best hospitals anywhere in the world. We want to thank the doctors and nurses for the great work they do every single day, making sure our kids get well. Okay.
So that's either extreme exhaustion.
Did he come out of the same?
He purportedly does not consume alcohol.
Well, here's the thing. When you said extreme exhaustion, remember when Elizabeth May delivered that speech at the press gallery dinner? I guess everybody thought that she was drunk.
Yeah.
And she had said, I just had like long days, long flights and all that kind of stuff, and was...
Because purportedly Doug Ford does not consume alcohol, so I would have to assume he's extremely exhausted there. But I've never seen this before.
I had heard of it, but I'd never seen it.
Yeah.
I'd heard of that video. Yeah, I'd never seen it, but
just came across my feed now. It's funny how things from 6 months ago will just pop up out of nowhere. Right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Remember, Mr. Grizzly, when we talked a few days ago about Sabrina Maddow?
Yes.
The candidate for the Conservative Party nomination in, I believe it was Aurora Oak Ridge's Richmond Hill. And I can't believe I remembered that off the top of my head.
Pretty good.
Oh my God. I'm such a geek. Save me from myself, please.
Nope, you're on your own.
Jeez. According to the CBC's John Paul Tasker, another would-be Conservative nominee alleges irregularities in race to carry party banner. Now, you will remember that when Sabrina Maddow made her video, it didn't take too long for Conservative Party of Canada Communications Director Sarah Fisher, to say, that's all a lie, she's lying. And like this, and well, I asked her, well, I said, well, prove it. And we've heard nothing since. Well, now we have a second person say that there are irregularities. So I'm waiting for the tweet from Sarah Fisher to say she's a liar too.
Yes.
And if there are more that complain about that, will they be liars too? And noticing once again that it's another woman who is bearing the brunt of this type of behavior. And I believe I saw something recently that said because when it happened to Sabrina Meadow, my theory was, oh, well, Jamil Javani, how do you explain that Jamil Javani is actually in a seat and Sabrina Meadow got turfed when both of them sort of came along at the same time and they were both being touted as the next generation? My theory was, well, we don't need any more white women to keep white women down here in the Conservative Party. What we need is some ethnic diversity. Because the ranks of the Conservative Party of Canada, I think, believe it's a low percentage of the party. I think the parties that is represented as like 32% of the caucus is female or something. So, it's like we have our 16 women or something. We're good. We don't need any more.
We need more old stock Canadians.
A town, yes. According to John Paul Tasker, a town councillor running for the Conservative nomination in an Ontario riding that was already the source of controversy earlier this month, says she was unfairly blocked from carrying the party banner because the top Tory brass wanted another candidate instead. Rachel Gilliland, who sits as a member of Aurora, Ontario's town council, told CBC News Wednesday she was denied the chance to run for a nomination in the Aurora, Oak Ridge, Richmond Hill riding. So this is the same riding. Oh, this gets juicier, because if it was two different writings, that'd be one thing. But given it's the same writing, that Sarah Fisher just went out on a limb saying that Sabrina Meadow was lying. And I believe Sabrina Meadow, when she said that there were other people that had reported things too, when she mentioned, but she didn't name names, I'm guessing that Rachel Gilliland is one. Well. Quote, she said that she was denied the chance and given no reason for the denial. Quote, I did ask for clarity and I didn't get any. It seemed to me like there's a candidate that has a little bit more favoritism from the party. Let's just say that, she said in an interview. There were quite a few things that didn't seem kosher. I've worked my butt off for almost a year and I've made a lot of personal sacrifices. If the party was adamant about having a specific person win, then by all means, but pick up the phone and tell me. They could have thrown me a bone, she said. This is the second Conservative candidate in as many weeks from Aurora, Oak Ridge, Richmond Hill to have their nomination campaign abruptly come to an end. Former National Post journalist Sabrina Meadow suspended her nomination campaign, saying the process had been, quote, corrupted. Both have claimed irregularities in the nomination process and alleged the party's membership list was somehow leaked to another candidate to give them a leg up. They claimed the party favored another candidate in the contest, denying local party members a say in who will represent them. Both candidates have declined to say who they think the party favors in this race for a suburban swing seat, which looks winnable for the Conservatives in a general election given the party's huge lead in the national polls. The two women were in a tough fight for the nomination against former MP Kostas Menegakis, who held the riding from 2011 until the party's defeat in the 2015 election. Now that Gilliland has been blocked from running for the party and Meadow is out, the nomination election will be held on May 28th with only two candidates on the ballot. Gee, I wonder who it could be. Both Menegakis, who held the seat until 25, and Carmine Pirelli, a former regional councillor and deputy mayor of Richmond Hill, Ontario. Two dudes. The guy who once held the seat, and I guess the person from city council that they would have rather have show up than her. Yeah, okay. A spokesperson for the Conservatives said Gilliland was, quote, in clear violation of the rules as outlined in the party's rules and procedures for candidate nominations. The spokesperson, Sarah Fisher, did not specify what rule Gilliland is said to have broken, of course. Of course. Quote, the local candidate nomination committee recommended disqualification and the National Candidate Selection Committee upheld the local CNC decision. After review, the National Council did not accept Ms. Gilliland's appeal of this decision. Gilliland maintained she was never told why exactly she was disqualified from the race. Gilliland said she's troubled by what she calls a number of irregularities and incidents and suspected contravention of party nomination rules during her race. She reported these concerns to the party but hasn't had a meaningful response, she said, just like Sabrina Manel, by the way. Gilliland said that she has reason to believe the party's membership list, the master directory of conservatives in a particular riding, was unfairly given to another candidate for the nomination in contravention of the rules. The list is what candidates use to focus their campaigns on members who are actually expected to vote, which saves the campaign time and resources. She said she signed up a new conservative supporter who before this race was never politically active and could not have been on any of the party's old membership lists. Shortly after signing up this member to support her candidacy, a volunteer from another campaign came to the supporters' door trying to solicit their vote, she said. Gilliland said she received emails from 5 other supporters who said they experienced a similar thing and they were curious as to how their personal details ended up in the hands of another campaign.
Interesting, eh? Maybe a little leaky poo?
Brought it to the Conservative Party of Canada, and, well, you just never know where it ends up.
Poo.
Just a little leaky
That's
poo.
all.
Send me money, give me your data, and, well, don't ask too many questions about what it is.
Don't worry about it. It's under control. These from the same party that wants to scan your passport or driver's license if you want to look at some adult content online.
Mm-hmm. And that's not all. Gilliland also said that an unflattering email about her was sent to some members who only recently signed up in an attempt to undermine her campaign and torpedo her chances. Gilliland said these incidents happened well before the updated membership list was to be distributed to all candidates. Under the Conservative Party's rules, the membership list can only be given to nomination candidates after the closing notice is issued, when nominations are closed to other prospective party nominees. Allegations of questionable activity around the membership list is also one of the reasons why Mado quit the Conservative nomination battle in the same electoral district. Mado told CBC News earlier this month that she suspected another campaign had access to the membership lists. Mado said the list was used to send out a disparaging email that maligned her past experience as a writer and columnist. It seems there's an MO. Get the name on the list, send an unflattering email. She said the emails were sent to some new members whose contact details were only recorded on an updated membership list, which should not have been released to the other candidates yet, exactly as Gilliland says happened to her. Well, again, is this the guy you want to be voting for? Is this the party you want to be voting for? This is how they treat each
How do you think they're
other.
gonna treat you? You're the mark. Remember that. You're the mark.
All right. Enough with the heavy stuff. Let's end with some good stuff as we wrap up the show.
I have a very positive tweet. I just came across my feed. It was from 6:30 this morning from @JanBear105 on the Twitter. I'm just loving how all the Pierre Poilievre followers are calling me a liar when I say the federal dental program is working, that I got my Sun Life card and have an appointment coming up, as do many of my friends. What is with that? Why would I lie about that? Talk about sour grapes. Another example of conservatives lying to your face. And again, I hate to use the word conservative because they're reformers. Because it paints anybody who is identified as a progressive conservative as a member of that party. And every progressive I know has nothing or wants nothing to do with that party. And I know a lot of progressives. We have one on our network, Mr. Charles Adler, who was a long-standing member of the Progressive Conservative Party of Canada, federally and provincially, and said, nope, not anymore. I didn't leave the party left me. So I need to call them reformicons or reformers because they are not conservatives.
Well, now that you mentioned that, I wasn't going to talk about it today, but announcement came out on May 23rd, so that's yesterday. 2 million seniors are now signed up, because last time we had reported that hit the 1 million mark, and now 10,000 providers. And I remember, I think the last time that we talked about it, it was only like 5,500 providers, because they were waiting to see if certain changes that had been made to the program would make it easier. It seems that that is the case. So according to CTV, Rachel Ayalo, Canada's dental care program is getting there. Health Minister Mark Holland said Wednesday, defending the program's rollout, that's now seen 2 million seniors sign up, but just 10,000 oral health providers enrolled to treat them. Quote, this is the largest program in federal government history. There are literally tens of thousands of seniors being seen every single week. And I've seen more tweets from people saying that they went in and, they thought it was just going to be a cleaning, and said, my God, I got like x-rays and, and this tooth was broken. We've got an appointment to fix it. And like people are, those who like it seem to be liking it a lot. Let's just say. The minister was responding to a question about the Conservative Party's disseminating criticism about the percentage of providers across the country that have registered. And Polyev, spokesperson against Skamsky, I'm going to guess that is, again, calling the program costly and disastrous, and the program that has caused nothing but pain. Well, we know from Valcross that that's not true. It hasn't caused nothing but pain. See, that's when they talk about, when they exaggerate like this, was the worst in history. It's caused nothing but pain. Nothing good from it has come out. Like, all it takes is one person to say, hey. And then that's a lie. It's like, beware of parties that speak in exaggeration as well. One of the things that's deeply frustrating is that the Conservatives have spread a lot of misinformation about this and have deliberately tried to scare providers. I think they're cheering for it to fail, said Mark Holland. The health minister went on to note he doesn't have a problem if the Conservatives want to campaign on a pledge to take the program away from Canadians that in the first weeks has allowed seniors to rectify complicated oral issues. But trying to actively cheer and work against providers participating or seniors getting care, I've got a major problem with that. And what's really interesting with this is that if some people have noticed in polling that while the Conservatives are doing well with 18 to 29-year-olds, although maybe the tide might be starting to turn a little bit, oddly enough, the Liberals have a lock on the 60s over, which is a complete flip from normal. Traditional Canadian orthodoxy is that the Conservatives own the seniors.
Changed because somebody's done something for them.
It's flipped. Yep. It's flipped. The Canadian dental care, well, yes, when you consider the boosts to the OAS and GIS.
Reducing 67 to 65 for retirement age. Like, hello.
Yes. And shoring up the CPP, all stuff that he did in his first mandate, all that kind of stuff. So, people remember that kind of stuff. And he took particular good care of seniors during the pandemic as well. So yeah, there we go. We have so far close to 10,000 oral dentists have enrolled under the federal plan. Holland says he's continuing to have incredibly constructive conversations with various dental associations, and says the government is getting there on smoothing out the kinks. Quote, there was a lot of prognostications that we weren't going to see more than 15% of providers. In just a couple of weeks, we're at 30% of providers. There are certain areas of the country where we have almost everybody joining. In fact, in regions where we have providers joining because they can see how easy it is, we're seeing an explosion of numbers anywhere anybody's participating. Responding to Holland's remarks, Conservative MP and health critic Stephen Ellis doubled down. Less than a third of all providers are using the program, and even the head of the National Dental Association has refused to sign up his own dental practice onto Trudeau's failed system. The vast majority of Canadians don't even qualify for this so-called universal program, and those who do are unable to get the dental care they need at the dentists they want. Okay. This is, right now what they're saying, less than a third of all providers are using the program, and even the head. It's like, yeah. And about a month ago, at the beginning of the program, it was way less. And now it's more. And if you guys built up expectations that not more than 15% went side on, but now you've already got 30, well, it's like, now your company, that's called shifting the goalpost. Well, 30 is not a lot. Yeah, but it's double what you thought it would be. There's just this refusal to give the man credit.
Indeed.
All right. Before we go, kids and cubs, some things that to celebrate about Canadians who have made us proud.
Gotta speed it up.
Yesterday, it seems... Okay.
We got to go fast.
But you have to be gone for 9, right?
I got to be off the air
Yep.
at 9. I have to be out the door. So
Yep. No worries. So just for people who follow basketball, because we said the 3-on-3 team women's team qualified for the Olympics. If you are a basketball fan, the Super League finals are taking place. The Kingston Waterloo Titans are playing the London Lightning. The series is 2-1 for the Lightning, and the next match is in London at 7 p.m. on Saturday. I think it's a best of 5 series. The Canadian Elite Basketball League has started, so if you don't worry if that first league is coming to an end, there's a whole other season for you that has just started, so you will enjoy that. The official announcement of the WNBA team was made,
yesterday, yes.
so now it is absolutely official, and I can't remember the name of the sportscaster, but Shireen Ahad, I think it is, but from CBC. She broke the story about a week ago, so congratulations to her for some intrepid reporting. And I'm sorry I got the name wrong. I will try to remember to make a note to give proper credit on the next show. The Edmonton Oilers, it went into double overtime, but a couple seconds into double overtime, won it 3-2. So go Canada, go here at the Stanley Cup. If you're watching the PWHL, unfortunately, none of the Canadian teams made it to the finals, but Boston and Minnesota are playing, and the series is tied 1-1. That next match is at 7 p.m. tonight. The next Oilers match is Saturday at 8 p.m. If you are watching the World Hockey Championships, Canada defeated Slovakia 6-3 yesterday, and Switzerland defeated Germany 3-1. So that means Canada will take on Switzerland in the first semifinal, and the Czech Republic will take on Sweden in the other. Finland lost in overtime, and the USA got eliminated in the quarterfinal.
Well, I know Super Kyle's cheering for Boston in the PWHL. I'm
all right.
I'm kind of cheering for Minnesota because it's practically Canada. Next best thing, right? So
yes, pretty much.
But either way,
yesterday,
to me, it's Ottawa's not in it, so I'm not greatly invested with who wins. I just want to see some great hockey, and celebrate women playing in a professional league, bringing in massive crowds and generating interest.
Exactly. Yesterday, because we missed it, was National Golf Day. So it's a good opportunity to give a shout out to Matthew Anderson, who finished third at the PGA Tour of the Americas Inter Rapidissimo Golf Championships in Colombia. And congratulations to Gabriel Diallo, who won his third round qualification match, and for the first time ever will play in a Grand Slam at the French Open. Marina Stakusic is in the third round, and she's probably on the court right now. And that's it for Canadians who make us proud. That's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show.
Quick second.
Oh, when's the next episode?
So here's the thing. We had technically planned to do a live from Meow That's Hot in this month at the next Songwriters Spotlight. Unfortunately, because it's taking place on a Friday, not a Saturday, it's just... it logistically can't be done, number one. And number two, I don't do Friday evenings, as I said at the top of the show. So yeah, unfortunately there won't be a pubcast this month. There will be next month. It will take place on June 15th after the mental health walk.
Yes. Thank you to the kits who made donations in Super Chat. We saw one or two of them today. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. That's the end of this episode. We hope that you loved listening to us because we love making this for you. Sharing is caring. Word of mouth is priceless. Please tell everyone about us. If you would like to not make sure you don't miss an episode, please subscribe to our pod page if you scan the QR code, or go to podpage.com/TheTrueNorthEagerBeaver. Lowercase letters, all in one word. Lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. Thank you to the Ray Girl for sponsoring that. And that way, when you subscribe there, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you. If you want to go to our merch shop, etsy.com/ca/shop/TNEB merch store, or scan that QR code, and that's where you can get your swag. If you would like to support us, make like Elaine and go to the True North Eager Beaver YouTube page, where you can click like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate that. And the QR code by Mr. Grizzly's Head at the end of the week. If you think that we've done a good job for you this week and your pockets are a little heavy, like this, we'd like to lighten your load. So please scan that QR code and go to our coffee page, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. And there you can make a donation in our tip jar, the Eager Beaver Lodge Hydration Fund. We like to help. We just want to, if it's just you can't stand that jingling in your pockets, we'll help with that. We'll take some of that off your hands. Because democracy is something that you do get involved in the NDP leadership race or in, for provincial elections coming up in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and New Brunswick. From the Beaver Lodge, this is your Eager Beaver saying it could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom?
Yes, actually, but I'm going to borrow them from somebody else. I think this is the second time this week I've done that, but they're really good words of wisdom. This is from Nina Turner, at Nina Turner. And Nina Turner, for those of you who do not know, is educator, activist, senior fellow at Race Power Policy, former Ohio State Senator and professor, national surrogate Bernie Sanders 2016, national co-chair 2020. Nina Turner has in quotation marks, "I don't do politics." And under that, her response to that statement is, well, baby, politics is going to do you regardless. So, yeah, that's a good one, right? That's a good one.
Dang.
Yeah, that's a good one. Pay attention.
You don't do politics, or politics will do you.
It's going to do you, so maybe you should pay attention. Democracy is something you do, and if you don't do it, it will be done to you. And it might not always be democratic.
All right, Mr. Grizzly. Ooh. Cue the cock. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. Just a quick little one for you kids and cubs, for people watching at home. Listening at home, it seems that the United Conservative Party's Youth Spring Dance and Social announcement has had a bit of an update.
Yes, let me just share this with you quickly, and we can, I don't know, what do you want to do? Take joy in the fact that it's been canceled? I don't know.
Gee, is it something
Maybe.
somebody said?
Maybe.
Have a great
Just
week,
before
kids.
we go, real quick here, I do have something for you that I want to show real fast. There was a quote I wanted to read to you, but we have time. We do have time. I'll read the quote, then I'll show you the thing. I'm going to go as quickly as I can, so bear with me. But I thought this quote is somewhat poignant and fitting. And this is from one of my favorite books from the author Hunter S. Thompson, From Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I'm not going to read the whole quote. I'm going to parse through some of it. But here it goes. I just need to clear my throat. Strange memories on this nervous night in Las Vegas. 5 years later, 6. It seems like a lifetime, or at least a main era. The kind of peak that never comes again. San Francisco in the middle 60s was a very special time and place to be a part of. Maybe it meant something, maybe not, but in the long run, but no explanation, no mix of words or music or memories can touch that sense of knowing that you were there and alive in that corner of time in the world, whatever it meant. There was madness in any direction at any hour, if not across the bay, then up the Golden Gate or down 101 to Los Altos or La Honda. You could strike sparks anywhere. There was a fantastic universal sense that whatever we were doing was right, that we were winning. So now, less than 5 years later, you can go up on a steep hill in Las Vegas and look west, and with the right kind of eyes, you can almost see the high water mark. that place where the wave finally broke and rolled back. Now, the reason I read that to you is you can transpose a lot of what he said to today's time and place. You can see the high water mark where the wave rolled back, broke and rolled back, and there's a new wave coming right behind that, and that wave is the pushback of 2024.
Ooh.
Thank you.
Oh, I'll say nothing.
And this is the clip I wanted to show you very quickly that our good friend Pete Jarvis sent. And this is, we're going to work on a couple of different things, but I really like this, so I wanted to share it with everybody because I think it's pretty cool. Like that?
Joy.
I thought it was pretty cool.
I love it. I love it. Wow. Yes. Thank you, Pete. That's gorgeous. And Mr. Grizzly, that quote was a nail file drop. Boom. Have a great weekend, everyone.
I'll be seeing you.